are tuned into the Richard Brown Show on WCOM LP, Chapel Hill and Carrboro, 103.5 FM. I am Richard Brown, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Let me talk just a second about the show today, and then we'll get on this very special show. The Richard Brown Show is a show where I want to take positive image of African Americans and put them on the media, put them out in the world, because far too many times what I see in the media, and I think what you see in the media as well, is negative images of African Americans. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to do the show a little different. We're going to try something, see how it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll try something else. But today what we're going to do is we're going to try a video conference with my brother, PhD holder, Ron Brown. And he is actually in South Carolina, and I am here in North Carolina, and we're just going to see if we can pull these things together. Thanks for coming on the show, Ron.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you? This will be a little strange, but we'll kind of pull it together. See if we can actually get all the different technologies that we're working on to actually to marry and to play nice. First, I want to thank you for changing your schedule to make this show happen. What I want to talk about, what I'm interested in talking about is, we can talk about technology, but the other thing that I'm very interested in you talking about is actually the Wizard of Oz, pulling back the curtain, what happens on a daily basis in order to be a teacher, a professor, not just a teacher, but a professor at a tier 1 university. So why don't you talk about what you do at the university and kind of what happens on a day-to-day basis? Because I think there's a lot of maybe just misunderstanding, misinformation. I don't even know. Everybody thinking in this pie in the sky, and my sense is that it's not pie in the sky. So why don't you tell us what exactly you do and how you get it done?
Okay. So, it all starts with, getting up in the morning, getting ready for work, coming in. And, once you make it to work, it's a very flexible schedule. So you kind of have to devote some time and energy to each of the 3 different tasks that you have before you. A lot of people construe those tasks as research, teaching, and service. So for the most part, it's about it's about finding a balance between those 3 things, and then also trying to find a balance for having time with family. I teach primarily in an online environment, and so that adds its own sort of twist to that mix, because teaching in an online environment can increase the time necessary for preparing the teaching materials, and then also just the standard research and service, basically publish until you die, publish until you perish, as they say. And then also this whole notion of service, which is pretty much, basically, everybody trying to vote you in and stuff.
All right. I hear what you're saying. I hear the publish or perish. Let's back up to when you were in graduate school. Let's actually back up a little bit further than that. When you were an undergraduate, what did you really think professors did? And once you talk about what you thought they did, let's talk about what you actually do in real life.
When I was an undergrad, I didn't really think a whole lot about what professors did so much. I wasn't necessarily kind of tuned into, professors need to do X, Y, and Z. I knew they were there to basically teach us, and, I knew that they had to conduct research, but as an undergrad, I wasn't exposed to sort of the whole research process, and, I didn't have an awareness of how that research process impacted their time, and also how teaching impacted their time, and also sort of the whole big area of service as well. So I would say that I didn't really have a good idea of that. So, now kind of going to, switching hats and looking at it from the other perspective. I think I have a very clear idea of kind of what goes on, and it's kind of mind-blowing what people have to do on a day-to-day basis in terms of scheduling yourself, figuring out. It all starts pretty much in grad school when you begin to put together the pieces for your research agenda, and it kind of moves from there. So basically, you work in grad school. Usually what happens is you work on one or two research projects, and then your dissertation is the culmination of the research project, which will, for most people, be the thing that sustains them through their tenure. It'll be the largest research project that they'll work on. Some people will forego that one.
Okay, let me get you to pause right there and talk about that process. When did you know, when you were an undergraduate, that you wanted to actually go to graduate school and pursue your PhD? I mean, who do you talk to, or how do you know that that's something that you might want to try? What is it that you said, oh man, I can do this?
Well, it wasn't really in undergrad. I was just focused on, I was mainly, again, not necessarily really tuned into that whole process. I had a couple of friends they knew that they were going for a PhD from the get-go, and that was the type of life that they wanted for themselves. So for me, it was kind of like, this is what happened was I was in school, and I decided that the particular degree I was pursuing, I didn't necessarily want to pursue it any further. And so the other options were to, try and find a job, with the degree I had that didn't necessarily use that degree, or to go back to school. And so I opted for the second choice, which was to go back to school, to look at the master's degree program. And there was a professor that I had when I was in my senior year that suggested I look into the information and library science program at the school. And, at that time, I had a preconceived notion of what the field was. She said information and library science, and I immediately thought library. But after exploring the field further, I began to see that, hey, people in this field do things like usability testing. They set up networks. And so this whole information science part of it was pretty much a well-kept secret. And so because of the technology component in the degree, that's really what attracted me to the master's degree. And for me personally, I was kind of like, well, I was kind of hedging my bets. I was like, well, I'm trying to get retrained for my degree so I can be more marketable on the job place. And if I really like the degree, then I'll decide, at that point whether or not I want to go for the PhD. And so, I ended up pursuing the PhD. And so things kind of went from there. So, and, I think that, we all have those sort of turning moments where, we have to make those decisions about which way we're going to go. And I think that I am happy with the decision that I made.
Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing is that once you decided that you were actually going to pursue the PhD, then is when you really started to kind of pay attention to what kind of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, whether it be the grading or whether it be the research piece that your professors at the time were teaching. And this is something that happened in grad school. Is that right?
Yeah. In undergrad, I didn't really have a whole lot of experience with my professors. I didn't really, and this just might be me, but for the most part, I had this mystique where the professors were unapproachable, and so I didn't really try to establish relationships with them. I didn't really try to